Hi guys, today's Q&A pulls us away from all of the amazing things that are happening in the US with Doge and all of the corruption they are uncovering. But I thought it would be a good question to address in video. Perhaps there was some misunderstanding about the post from some of the replies, and we have so many new community members that I thought it would be timely. First, I want everyone to know that I enjoy interacting with all of you. Everyone has been so kind and wonderful, and while it might take me a while, I try to get back to each of you unless your message somehow gets lost in the YouTube filters. So keep them nice so they reach me. I've addressed this topic of my personal journey before, and I'll link it at the end, but I've recently had similar questions, so hopefully many of you will understand me a bit more. If you guys like my videos, please remember to share them. Like them and subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. Apparently, if you don't click on the bell, you aren't notified of new videos when they are uploaded. Also, I earn a little when you buy a linked product. Every bit helps me build the channel. If you want to leave a tip or super thanks, I think it's under the 3 dots below the video. I am always so grateful for anything you can do to help the channel grow. Smealmaker 7549 asked a simple question that perhaps some took as probing into me. I have been very fortunate to attract only good souls right now, and I don't feel afraid of Smealmaker at all. I want to thank Mathis for his defense of me and answer Smealmaker's question so that all of the newer subscribers get a feel for who this faceless person is that sometimes makes sense. I'm smiling. So here's the question.
You sound so fascinating. Where did you come from?
It depends when you are speaking of. I was born on Fort Bragg Army Base the year they started the MK Ultra program, coincidentally. At some point, as Mathis said, my parents moved to New Jersey and I was put into Catholic schools until we moved to the Tampa Bay area, Florida, when I was 13 or 14. I have a few other memories of my childhood, but they're very scattered and mostly secondhand from my mom or dad telling me things. I have little independent memory until I was about 19 years old. Interactions like this help me so much in so many ways. While I was writing my response, I had a flashback of a teacher who was the only one I remember. She was mean and spanked me in front of the class for losing a paper. I was a straight A student, so it wasn't like I was a bad kid. She was just demeaning and nasty. Now it makes sense to me that teachers might have been instrumental in identifying children for the program, as they know better than anyone the capabilities of the child. Writing this made me remember that she was the person who recommended that I take piano lessons to my parents. The lessons were given by a nun who I don't remember, but I do remember that's how I came to be in the convent and behind the scenes of the church. For some strange reason, I remember seeing the underthings of a nun in her bedroom dresser, but I don't remember how I got there. I know it's a little thing, but that's how memories sometimes work, and I'm so happy for each little piece of my fragmented memory that comes back. I have reason to believe that I was used from infancy in some sort of military experimentation, likely related to the exchange program that began back in the 50s. There's just a lot of strange circumstances and experiences in my life that are explained in the video that I will link. As an adult, and after I was out of Catholic schools, I began to have paranormal experiences, which is also explained in the linked video. Anyway, I got married young. I had a child and divorced young. I went to college as a single mom. My parents didn't have the means, so I got grants and worked my way through pharmacy school. I didn't like pharmacy from the first month I practiced it. I began in retail pharmacy, which was way understaffed to be safe. It was the most stressful thing that I ever done in my life. And I actually locked up a CVS and closed the pharmacy because I was all alone in a tremendously busy store and it was downright dangerous. I did, however, like hospital work, especially my time with Moffitt Cancer Center. I studied Buddhism and meditated a lot in the 70s. I completed college and was working constantly in pharmacy during the 80s. I was a drug regulator and investigator in the 90s, during which I traveled to Europe twice a year on my dime. I loved the job, but eventually saw the corruption, and I became more and more disillusioned. I studied Taoism and briefly taught Tai Chi, Qigong, and Kung Fu during this time. I had planned on going to China to study with the Shaolin monks, but it didn't work out. I quit the state and moved to the Florida Panhandle after a somewhat acrimonious departure from government, and I opened a real estate brokerage in a beautiful beach area of Florida in the 2000s. During that time, I still kept my pharmacy license as a backup, but became more and more aware of the trafficking and satanic agendas, and my life began to get very dark. The BP oil spill in the Panhandle changed my life. I closed my business because ethically, I couldn't sell real estate to people when there was oil an inch under the sand. I also became quite ill from the oil fumes and the chemical dispersants, and I still had a home in Tampa Bay, so I moved back there. I had a lot of family illnesses and deaths of loved ones after that. In the meantime, the Panhandle real estate skyrocketed, and I could have become very rich, but that wasn't my destiny, I guess. I went to Fiji to study with Tony Robbins at this time. I was desperately seeking sanity in this crazy world, but it wasn't to be yet. I helped nurse my dad when he had cancer, and finally he was overdosed and died by the system. It was quite traumatic for me that I couldn't save him that time. I gave up my pharmacy license and began studying herbalism and plant-based diets and their benefits in preventing disease. I was still mourning and going through financial losses, and a wonderful man came along and I married this amazing man. He was from Canada and wasn't able to work for nearly 2 years, so it was difficult. I lost my mom a couple years later, and again, it was horrible with dysfunctional family dynamics. Then I had one last loss, which was my beloved Miss Tilly, which exposed me to energy healing. This was when I finally found purpose again by starting this channel. So, to answer your question, I don't really know where I came from or what I've been through, and this channel is apparently part of my process in self-discovery. Thank you so much for asking that question. I am always happy for interaction. I remain somewhat anonymous because I don't need or want the attention, and I am so thankful that the community supports my level of anonymity, but we must always be helpful, kind, and respectful to each other. Until next time, remember that sometimes we must lose ourselves to truly find ourselves.